This will be the second part of the Q&A. I hope you've seen the first one because we had some really good questions there. And now I'm going on to the second part and we have just as good questions, to be honest. And I hope you're gonna enjoy it. Let's get into it. What keeps you going? It's a lot of factors and it's been different throughout the years. First one, when I started training, it was to look a certain way and that worked for a while. Then I got the dilemma like, all right, now I would consider myself fit and look a certain way. So what's up next? I need another goal or another strive. So at that point I started with skill training. Started to learn some different skills and that also worked for a pretty long time, to be honest, because skills take a bit longer to achieve. So that was the two goals I had in the beginning. Then later on, it started to move on to competition. That was like, all right, I gotta perform and be in my best shape because I want to perform in these competitions. And that was a really good motivating factor as well. And I had a good reason to do my best. Then after a while as well, this became not boring, but my focus turned into other things. So I started with social media, and social media can be a both great factor just to share knowledge, but also for motivation. I personally know that when I started filming and doing everything, I felt like I needed to be at my top performance because I didn't want to look bad. And that to some degree can be motivating. It can be a bit hard as well because you always gotta live up to some expectations. But for me, it's more been like, I want to perform and I want to show who I really am and that I do my best. Like in these vlogs, you can see that some sessions are absolutely terrible, but I'm still there, I'm still showing up. I think that's the key point because at the moment I'm not scared of looking bad. Like I don't really care about that. What I'm scared of is if someone were to tell me that I'm not working hard enough. So I'm working hard as fuck. And even if it's not always the best, I'm always gonna show up. So I think that's where I'm still at right now. I'm doing social media. Competition is also pretty high up there. I want to perform extremely well when I'm competing, and I have a competition coming up. And that is also a really good reason for me to, you know, stay disciplined, stay focused, go to the gym, do the things that I'm supposed to do. Your protein source. Well, I eat 200 grams of protein per day, and that has been a goal for the last 4 months. I take 2 protein shakes per day. That is 80 grams of protein, so it's almost halfway just by eating powder. And I do this because of financial, like it costs a lot to only get it from food. But the other thing is because it's simple as well. It's easy to consume. So those two. The other protein sources I get is a lot from eggs. I always have it in the morning. Eggs and some cheese as well. They are pretty good have on the sandwich. Then during lunch and dinner, I either have some sort of chicken for a protein source or some sort of meat. I also had tuna. It is insane. Like sometimes I have foods with not so high protein. Then I just buy a can of tuna, pop it, and I think that's about 25 grams of protein just in one can. And that is perfect in my opinion. Might not taste the best, but as long as you have some chewing gum after, it's pretty fine. So I think that's the main sources. Then beans as well has been from time to time if I do salads and stuff, but I prefer having some sort of meat. How long does it take you to see progress in calisthenics? Skills training. It's pretty rough. And to be honest, I think that's one of the factors why the sport isn't growing as fast as it could, because I feel like a lot of people start and try it, but there's not a lot of people that go through this period of just pure discipline, to be honest, in the beginning and actually get to see the results. Because in skill training, it takes a lot of time. And in the beginning, if you're new, you usually measure progress either in what skills you're reaching or how you look. And the problem is if you're training skill training and you're only doing like static holds and stuff, that's gonna increase strength, but you're not gonna become huge by doing so. And if you've done that for, let's say, a few months and you're not seeing too much results, I can understand why you would quit. So to be honest, if I were to give an advice to someone to see progress or push through this this section where you only have discipline and then you're starting to see results, it would be to combine skill training for front level things, but also do some volume training. So you're actually starting to feel like you're strong and starting to look a certain way, because that is extremely motivating. And that is enough motivation for you to feel like you're actually getting some results. But then the true answer is that there is gonna come a lot of results. I feel like calisthenics is a lot about you're working, you're not seeing any results for a while, and then this comes a bump and you start to have like much higher level, and you work like this for a long time, and then boom, and you move on like that. I have the same, like my training is pretty flat, and then there's some switch, and all of a sudden I just become a little bit better, and this is where I start to train. And the same is in the beginning, like you're not gonna see a lot of results, and then it's gonna be like boom, I just unlocked the handstand or the tuck plunge or whatever it may be. And then you'll be there for a while training maybe advanced tuck, maybe you start to train handstand push-up or something, and then boom, all of a sudden you have those, and you move on. But it is a bit of a tough journey. However, I guarantee you that if you push through this beginning and understand that the results are gonna come, it's a dream. I love this sport. How long can you hold a full planche? Be honest. I don't know if I've lied about this before, but well, I would say 11 seconds on P-bars, or I got 10 seconds during a time, we had like this national competition, and then we did max hold as well, and I got about 10 seconds there. But that could be a thing to measure if I got any progress to do a max hold, but I would definitely think it's 11 seconds roughly. On parallettes, then straight bar it's a bit less, and then rings is even less than that. Who is your girlfriend? Question mark. Does she do calisthenics? Question mark. Or modeling, singer, actress? Hehehe. Well, I don't have a girlfriend, so I don't know. But if I were to have one, it would most likely be someone within the fitness industry. It would, you know, be really hard otherwise. Or at least it had to be someone who understands how much time it takes. But yeah, I hope that answers. What's your 1 rep max dip and pull-ups? In dips, it's 125, or that's what it was last summer. Haven't done a max rep since then, because I don't really train for that. My focus is skill training, and then I do other things on the side, but not necessarily to progress in it. So 125 in dips, and then pull-ups, I think 75 kg. So still pretty high numbers, and I think it's a combination of doing freestyle training with my size. I train a lot of pull strength, but then in general, my skill training for planche push-ups, everything, it's insane amount of stress on the muscles, and you build a lot of strength. That transfers good to 1 rep max, especially considering my size, because for me to build strength and then have a weight, since I'm really heavy from the beginning, the weight proportionally isn't gonna be as much as if I were to be at a lighter weight. Why not keep full beard? Well, now I'm stuck to this one. It was actually when I met my family, we had a family meetup, and there was a lot of people telling me they were unused to see me with beard. But the thing is that I have 2 like bald spots right here, so they thought I would look better like this, to just cut it on the sides, and I agree with them. So I think I'm gonna stick with this for a little while, and then when my bald spots maybe grow out, I might try a bit more. But to be honest, I'm probably only gonna stick with this length, even if I were to have a full one. I don't wanna have too much. I think this looks, you know, decent. Then I don't need to get my food in the beard or anything. No, that sounds irritating. How does your weighted pull-ups dips look like? Weight, reps, sets. I always do 3 sets, because I feel like that's a good amount for me to get progress, get a lot of time and attention. It's also not too long for me to get bored. I did mention this in another vlog, that I do rather have 3 sets in each exercise and have a bit more exercises, because it keeps me, you know, feeling like it's fun. If I just do the same thing too much, I get a little bit bored. So that's mainly the reason. I do 3 sets. In reps, I try to do about 10 reps, maybe 10 to 12 if I'm doing weighted. And then the weight is gonna be based on how far from failure am I when I'm done with these 10 reps. So if my goal is 10 reps, I would take a weight so I can do 10 reps and probably have about like 3 more reps in reserve. At that point, I know the weight is right. So it depends. But for me right now, I'm at 70 kg when I'm doing reps. And at that point, I have a few more reps in reserve. I think that sort of answers the question. Do you follow sports science, like read actual science papers for workout optimization? No, not really. I wish I would. It just haven't been a thought of mine. I don't know, it could be really good. I also think it's good to first gain a lot of knowledge and then start to look into articles as well. Because I'm surrounded with a lot of people that has experience. That sets a good foundation and understanding for me as well. And then the thing that you can get a bit tricked with when it comes to science articles and papers is that you gotta know the source. Sometimes our brains is like, oh, we see, oh, this is science-based, so we just believe everything is true. But then when you start to look around, a lot of papers say different things. And at that point, it's also good to have experience, because then you can feel, oh, I can relate to this, so that might be true. And then it's backed by science. It's a combination. And then of course, it can be more important in different sports, like in bodybuilding, I feel like they have a lot of knowledge on how to increase muscle growth and everything. But the thing in calisthenics and skill training is that it's so personal based. Like, it's gonna be hard to say this is the best thing to do for this athlete and it's gonna be the same for everyone else. That's not really gonna be the case. So for me, it's been more about, all right, this time I will focus on trying to find the best things that work for me, that I feel joy from training, that I feel results from, and that I don't get pain from. I think in calisthenics as well, it's hard to say that this is the best thing. So more trial and error. How many days I can make my body like you? Please answer. Well, I've been training my whole life, so it's gonna be pretty hard to catch up. But in general, get a fit body. I've been training pretty hardcore with strength for 6 years. So I guess if you do 6 years, you could look pretty damn good. But the truth is, if you train for like 2 years, you're gonna see huge results. And you're never gonna be able to look like someone else, because we all have different genetics and things like that. But if you train for a few years, it's pretty different depending on your foundation, of course, but you will see a lot of results. So, and the truth is also, I've been extremely disciplined for these 6 years. I don't miss workouts. I have probably an average like 5 times per week in average for the last 6 years. So the level I'm at is of course elite level. Therefore it's gonna be hard to compare with who I am unless you train like I am. And one motivating factor that also drives me a little is that I know that if I train extremely hard for 6 years, it's gonna take someone else as well, unless they have insane genetics and talent, but most likely not. It's gonna take them 6 years to get to where I am. And if they have been training those 6 years, at that point I will also have trained 6 more years, so they're never gonna be able to catch up. And that's one of the things is, if you do most things right, it's gonna be hard to catch up with you. So the honest answer is, it's gonna be hard, but a few years will definitely give a lot of results. When will you collab with Ian Barseagle and Saypockguy, Leo 1? I don't know. I haven't planned a trip yet, but it would be pretty sick to meet them in the future. Ian I have had some contact with. He's also like this huge guy as well, so I think doing collaboration with him we could do some pretty sick stuff, because both of us had a bit more, you know, brutal bodies as well. And he is insane in reps and strength and, you know, handstand push-ups, so that could be pretty sick. But the true answer is like, I don't really know when, but some point in the future would be pretty good. Next up, will you ever come to the US to hold a meet and greet and teach classes about freestyle? That's pretty specific, and I would love to go to the US. There's a big community there. I know some people there as well. I've never been to US either, so would definitely love to come there at some point in the future. And of course the goal is to travel a bit more, meet a lot of people, spread knowledge, maybe not have a just freestyle based meetup, but in meetup in general would of course be one part. If I go to the US, that would be really fun. I think there's a big chance this is gonna happen at some point. What's your weight? I don't know the specific right now, but 88 kg was my weight just last week, so I think it's pretty much the same. But this will also be in the separate video with all my measurements and things. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see that. This is a good one. How is your athletic mindset impacting your daily life? Oof. This is the part where I really want people to understand that going to the gym and training is not just because you want to build muscle and be this brutal dude. Gives you a certain mindset that can be used in a lot of cases. I mentioned before that I studied mechanical engineering, and I've never failed an exam, which is pretty fascinating because I don't put a lot of time into it. But the thing here is that the mindset I got from training is that when I'm in the gym or when I'm doing something, I give my fucking all. And then when I'm done, I can rest. Same has been with studies. Like when I'm in school, I'm there, I'm concentrating, I don't really care about anything else because I'm there to learn. And that has worked extremely well. The same has also been in these tough periods where there has been a lot of things to do. I'm used to this sort of stress. And I can also use training as a way to get through these tough periods. So my mentality has definitely helped in everything I do. And also confidence, I would definitely say, because building a good looking body and you also know that you are the reason for why you look a certain way, that builds a lot of confidence. So nowadays when I walk into a room or almost any scenario where I am, I know that people look at me in a certain way. I also most of the time when I go places, people come up to me and tell me, damn, you have a good body, and probably ask for some advice. And at that state also, it's not only what I'm doing in the gym, it's reflecting everything and how people see me. And I gain a lot of respect. I don't need to say a single word. People will already respect me to a certain degree because of how I look. And that's pretty powerful and can be used. There was one meeting last summer and it was about studies and school as well. I went to that meeting in a tank top. And it's just a power move, because when you're having an argument with people or you want to win the argument, if you look a certain way, people almost, they become a bit scared, even though the argument is about knowledge. Just because the dude you're standing in front of is double the size of you, you sort of give up. So I sometimes use that as a power move. Not that I'm threatening anyone, I just look a certain way, I'm, the way I am, but it can be used to your advantage. How do you divide the 24 hours on a normal day? Sleep, train, work, etc. Well, sleep on average probably 7 hours. I would love to have that a bit more, 8 hours, but sometimes it's not doable, so 7 hours probably the average. Then I have studies, that's a lot of hours, probably about 6, 7 as well. Then after that I have training, that's about 2 hours, and most of the times I do some sort of content creating or editing, so let's add 1 hour on that as well. Then I have some travel time and things as well, but I don't know if that adds up to 24, but it's pretty routine based. My days are always like, I sleep till the morning, I go to school, I train, I get home editing, something like that. Maybe do some resting as well, watch some YouTube, and then I go fall to sleep, and then repeat. My progression is slower than my friends. What should I do?
Get weaker friends if you're comparing yourself.
No, but in general, like, progress is gonna be different. But I like to see it as we are in a long race. Like, it's not really about who's getting more progress within this month or even this year. Because I'm guessing this is not your friends and you haven't trained for more than, a few months. That's my assumption. Because the thing is that in the end, it's gonna be who's gonna be consistent with it and who's gonna train for a long period of time. And that is gonna outwork or outperform them by miles. When I was younger, I wasn't not the biggest dude in the room or in my school or, in general. But the people that were big at that point, they did not continue to work out like I've had. So after these years now that I've been consistent, I've outgrown a lot of people that was big back in the days, and that makes the difference. So I couldn't really say at that point, oh, they're getting more progress than me, because now, look at me now. But it's different, so don't compare yourself at the moment. Instead, use them as a motivation. Like, damn, I want to be like them. And then you always have striving. Next up, about freestyle. Do you think being 22 is too old to start training dynamics in order to compete professionally in freestyle? I assume most people know what freestyle is, but it's the part when we do spins, we do flips, and a bit more of the gymnastic style. And I'm 21 years old right now. I've been training for a few years. But if you want to start at 22 with freestyle, it really depends on your foundation and how your body is right now. If you've been doing statics or something before, it is not too late at all. Like, you're gonna get a lot of progress. Because the thing I love with freestyle is that it's more about mentality than strength. So you don't need to be this huge mountain or, be extremely strong to perform freestyle. It's more about being consistent, your body getting used to it, not being afraid, and results can come really quick. Like, there can be sessions where you learn a skill in just like almost one session. Most of the times maybe just a few, but that is insane. Like, it's never gonna be the case where you just, oh, I learned the planche in one workout. It's impossible. But with freestyle, that can happen. And maybe also if you've done some trampoline, I don't know if it's called that. I had it when I was younger, at least. We had it in the backyard, and we did flips as well. And I think that helped me a lot to be more comfortable with spins, flips, and everything in general. So I think it's mainly depends on the background you have. But 22, you can definitely become a beast. I have a close friend of mine here from Sweden, Malin, and she competed and won the world championship by the age of 31, and that is just living proof as well. And to be honest, she most likely could continue a bit more. So 22 is still really young. How much do you think specific weight training, dumbbell raises, curls, etc. helps in statics? Well, I think it can be really helpful. I personally use it a lot and train weights as a complement to my training, and it's mainly because I'm able to target muscles. So for example, straight arm raises, if I were to do only holds, for example, every time I do a hold, I can't really target my shoulder because I still need to hold up my body. So I'm using a lot of energy in things that I might not be wanting to train. So I usually end the workouts with doing, let's say, straight arm raises, because at that point I can sort of disconnect the other parts of my body and only focus on gaining shoulder strength. And the same can be for my lower body as well. I can do like leg raises on a box or something just to target my lower body if that's the strength I'm lacking. I had a problem before when I started to train planche or started to really focus on it, that I only did leans and I only did shoulder training. I never did core. And the thing was that when I learned the planche, it was almost a dead planche because I had insane strength in my shoulders, but I lacked core strength. So I couldn't hold my body up. And at that point, I would always end my workouts by adding a lot of just core strength, lower back strength, some ass strength as well, or glutes. And that then made my planche form better. So I'm really glad we can have weights as well. And I definitely think you should not just, oh, I'm a calisthenics athlete, so I can't use weights, I only do body weight. I think that works to a certain degree, but I would not be where I am if I didn't use weights as well. We have, is it possible to learn skills without parallettes and resistance bands? It's still really doable. It also depends. Some skills you definitely don't need it, like the muscle up or the handstand, for example, as well. Those are both skills that you really don't need that much at all for. A bar, of course, and a floor, assuming you have that. But when it comes to planche training, it's also, you have these progressions. You have, tuck advanced, you have planche leans, you still gonna be able to reach a really high level. In my opinion, or for me, I don't think I would enjoy it as much because you're pretty limited to what you can do. And that's what I really like about P-bars or resistance band training, is that I can be in the position really early in my journey, start to feel the connection, start to feel like, oh, this is what it should feel like, starting to do progressions that I wouldn't be ready for, but that keeps me really motivated and I enjoy the workouts and thereby training a lot and thereby gaining a lot of results. But of course, answering the question is still possible, but might take a bit longer and you gotta be really consistent. Did you have specific goals when you started calisthenics, or was it just new day, new progress? When I started, it was a bit more, I took it like when I got to the gym, I was like, oh, what am I gonna do today? So the structure wasn't perfect, but then as time moved on, I started to get more like, oh, let's divide it into push and pull. So front lever training and planche training. And then after that, it was like, all right, but let's do these specific exercises for this workout. And then as time moved on even more, I was like, all right, but let's stick to these sets and reps, and then I can measure progressive overload. And that's where I am right now. And I think that's the most important part, because the time when I didn't have my sets and reps, it was hard to measure progressive overload. And it's especially if you're training alone, it's easy to train less than you're actually capable of. So for me, it was really helpful when, for example, my friend Daniel, when he wrote a schedule to me, because he know how strong I was, so he pushed my limits. But when I did my training myself, it's hard to really push the limit because you're always a bit like weak on yourself and you don't really want to push it that hard. I definitely suggest doing a schedule and then maybe have your close friend, if they are into calisthenics, look at it and maybe make it a bit harder if they feel like you can do it. Would weighted pull-ups help me unlock a muscle up? Definitely would. I probably wouldn't only do weighted pull-ups and then all of a sudden like, whew, that's probably not gonna be the case, but having weighted pull-ups definitely is gonna increase the strength. Combining it with some explosive pull-ups without weight as well, then doing muscle-up training with resistance band, so having that in combination. But in general, weighted pull-ups really good to build this pulling strength, and that's gonna be beneficial for the muscle up. Your favorite food? Well, when it comes to any food, I would say hamburger is probably the number one that I enjoy the most. And then when it comes to a bit more daily food, I would say meat sauce with rice. That's one of the things that I've been eating a lot. Or if I do meat sauce and rice, I will do a lot. So it's probably like 10 food preparations. So for 10 different occasions. So the refrigerator would just be filled with it. And then of course my family eats as well, but I have no problem eating it for like 2 days straight. I don't really care about that because I enjoy it. Recommendations to improve at statics while training hypertrophy. This is to some degree the things that resistance band can help, because hypertrophy, of course, you're increasing the reps, and I use resistance band mainly to actually increase my reps, to be towards 10, 12 reps, because that's when I feel like I'm building strength, building some size as well, and I have a way more time under tension. So using hypertrophy, as long as you're doing it towards skill training, like doing just pull-ups and dips, that's gonna be a foundation, but it's not gonna increase your statics skills really, because you need to combine strength with muscle connection as well. So at some point you gotta be in a planche position for your body to know what the fuck is this, and then you can use other strength methods like dips to increase muscle strength. But the connection, you at some point need to be in the position. I think resistance band is the way to go here. Does size matter? Well, I am a calisthenics athlete, so I definitely think having big biceps is beneficial, but I don't know. Yes, it definitely matters. I actually don't know. If this is about the size, we can have an argument about it, but since it's about calisthenics, it might also be size as being a big athlete. I don't know, depends on your dirty minded. But in general, being a big athlete, if that's the case, then definitely a bit harder and something skill training. But then again, doing reps and things, it might be beneficial. Favorite YouTubers/podcasters? The truth is, when it comes to YouTube, the thing I look at is not too much about calisthenics actually. I did watch Daniel License, his videos about freestyle sessions and trainings. So that was one thing, but lately when I watch YouTube, it's more about mechanics and ATVs and stuff. So there's one channel called C-Boys TV where they usually build like these crazy machines and stuff. That's what I look at usually on YouTube. But then of course there are great calisthenics content creators out there as well. We have Daniel Christoph upcoming, we have Stan Brownie doing really interesting stuff as well. Then there is this Norwegian climber, I've seen some of his videos. Magnus, he's also really good at what he's doing interesting stuff, doing makeup and pretending to be a beginner. Some good stuff, interesting to watch. And sometimes when I look at those type of videos, it's also about to get knowledge about how does these professional YouTube creators do to grab attention, how do they structure and things like that, because I do want to improve. I'm decent at Instagram, I know what works pretty good there, but with YouTube I'm still a beginner. Next up, I'm skinny man, really want to gain weight but I don't feel like eating anything, not hungry. Any advice, sir? That's hard, because gaining and losing weight is a lot about calorie deficit or being over. I would say it's more about getting an appetite. I don't know what sort of routines you have, but in general, good sleep, less stress. If you have those two factors, that can be affecting how you feel if you're not hungry. So getting good sleep and lower stress levels, that might help. And the thing you want to focus on is starting to eat more. And it might also be that you add to do some, some training. I wouldn't recommend doing a lot of cardio because your case is not to burn a lot of fat or burn a lot of calories. So start doing weight training, probably have around 10 to 12 reps and things, gain some mass and strength, and hopefully the combination of sleep, less stress, training is gonna make you hungry as well. Eat as much as you can, that's literally the advice, and that's gonna be, starting the good progress. Were you ever coached by anyone? Well, when I started, I had a personal trainer in my gym. He taught me the foundation, and he got me into calisthenics. And then he took me to the place where I'm right now, where we train freestyle and things. And that's where I met, let's say, the rest of the team. And then I have my friend now, Daniel Fleerfield. He started to structure my training. Not every day, but sometimes before competition, he would say, do this, and gave tips. And sometimes when I wanted to learn a new skill like Maltese training, he said, all right, add this in the workout or change this. So he gave me a lot of tips on how to structure, but not necessarily every week or but as a good backup and setting the foundation. Then of course I've tried what works and what doesn't, because being a coach, you can give a lot of great advice, but then always body's gonna react different. So sometimes there were things that I had to change, and sometimes there were things that worked really well, and then we added more of that. But I think Daniel Fleerfield is, let's say, coach, and still is. He helps me a lot. He's also the guy behind the camera, if you hear him screaming from time to time. Next up, what are your opinion on using thicker bands for skill workouts, or should we only stick to thin? Well, this is, I think, a common argument, because I have some friends as well, and if you're really hungry for something, the case might be that you're taking a too thick resistance band because but I can be in the planche. But if you have too much help, it's gonna be hard to have the good form. So I would say the thickest bands are not gonna be that good. Like, you have these bands that are literally this thick or wide, and I have never used them, probably never will. Might be good for pull-up training, or I would say pull-up training when you're really starting off. But when it comes to skill training, I would stick to the lower end. So using maybe resistance band up to 30 kg help. Because if they're helping too much, the odds is that the hip is gonna be too high, because the band is helping too much, and the form in general isn't gonna be that good. So to some degree, thinner bands is a bit better, in my opinion. We have, how do you always stay disciplined? For me, the thing that's been working the best is building routines. It's a way to tricking the mind, and I think that's really the key point, because you don't really want to make decisions, you just want to make routine-based actions. So for me, I wake up in the morning, I have my morning breakfast routine. It's really simple, and I always pack my bag with the gym clothes. And this is where the key point is, that I always bring my clothes to the school where I study, and as soon as I'm done, doesn't matter which time it is, when it is during the day, if I end early or late, I will always directly go to the gym. I never go home before going to the gym, because what this means is that I never have to make the decision like, oh, do I feel like going to the gym or should I just stay at home? That never happens. So I always bring my clothes, go directly to the gym, and that guarantees that I'm gonna be there. And discipline when it comes to food as well, it's pretty much the same. Make sure that the things you're doing is simple enough to be consistent. So for me, eating maybe the healthiest lifestyle, that might be a bit too time consuming, and I'm not really that interested. But for me to have a pretty damn good lifestyle or healthy lifestyle when it comes to food, and it's simple to execute, like if you've seen my microwaved eggs, for example, stuff, that is so easy to do and is really good for me that I'm gonna do it for a long time, and that's indeed is gonna be the discipline part, and make sure that I'm getting good nutrition. I think that's the key, making routine-based lifestyle that is causing you to not make decisions. Do you work somewhere, or is it just social media? I haven't had, let's say, a normal job for the last 2 years, and the things I do is social media, definitely one thing, and the other thing is the mechanical repairs that I've flip ATVs, build things, and I made pretty good money on that. It was one summer where, I was supposed to work, but they then called and said, we can't have you because plans changed. I don't know if it was around COVID or something, There was something either way. And at that point I was like, oh, I need to make some money somehow. And that's when I started to flip these quads, and I became really good at it. And the thing with them is that it doesn't have to be that many to be really profitable. Like, I only need to find a few ones each year, that's the truth, that are really good. And if that's the case, I don't need to put too much time into them, but still make a lot of profit. So that's the thing I do as a, let's say, side hustle, but makes decent money. And then of course, social media. Then I do some other side hustle things that are just small jobs, a bit more inconsistent. Like, I go and do service job at some people that have been buying my ATVs. They then want to have me service the ATVs for them. So now during summer, for example, I have about like 4 jobs, at least service job, that I'm gonna perform, and small things like that. But the end goal is gonna be mainly on social media and this, platform, because this is where I enjoy doing content, spreading knowledge, engaging with people. So I think that's really gonna be like the goal. And that was it for part 2. Damn. I am exhausted. We have finished all the questions, and it became way longer than I thought it was. But at least I hope you enjoyed the answers. I definitely did. It made me think a lot, to be honest. So in general, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next one. Ciao, ciao.